We've all had these moments, these experiences that were so impactful on our lives, that left such an impression on us that we will never forget them. They've become these memories that are ingrained in our brains, that will always be in our mind somewhere, ready to be accessed if necessary. One of those memories for me was when I went to rehab. That first day, when I walked into this room called the Fishbowl, and I see all these chairs lined up in rows. There's a desk in the front. But the one thing that I remember so vividly, so clear, like it was yesterday, were these two posters that were on either side of the desk facing the chairs. One poster said, "The 12 Steps of Narcotics Anonymous," and the other one said, "The 12 Traditions of Narcotics Anonymous." So being curious, not really knowing what's going on or what to believe or what to assume, I started to read some of these steps and traditions. And the one thing that I noticed right away that stood out to me was that word, God. Once I saw that word, I instantly thought I was walking into a religious meeting. And God and myself never really had a great relationship. I was never really raised that religious, and to be honest, that word God just meant a man in the sky with a white beard, a white man in the sky with a white beard, because that's what I associated it with. I didn't really have much of an opinion on God or the word God, but when I saw it, that was my initial reaction. That's what my mind would go to. You see, I was conditioned from a young age, whether it was from family members or just society, to associate God with a certain description, a certain point of view or perspective. I never really genuinely had my own personal opinion on God, my own thoughts and ideas on God. So when I saw that word, I just reverted back to what I was taught or what I was told or what society brainwashed me into thinking. But after coming around for a little while and talking to other members in the program and reading the literature and reading the steps, I started to dissect each part. And what I realized was, yes, the word God does show up in steps 3, 5, 6, and 11. But in steps 3 and 11, specifically, when it says the word God, it says a God of our understanding. I was so focused on just the word God that I didn't read the second part, of our understanding, of your understanding, of my understanding, which means we all could have different interpretations of what God means to each one of us. And I never thought about it that way because, like I said before, I already had this preconceived notion, this disposition of what God was because of what I was taught or told or what I saw on TV and just from walking this earth for 26 years before I decided to get clean. But once I started to do some of the work, once I started to actually read and listen to other members in the program, I started to truly realize, truly grasp what the steps were trying to say, what that word God actually meant. Now for some, that word God is religious. It comes from religious roots for them. They may have learned it in Catholic school or going to church or from the way they were raised. They have this idea of God from their family, from their upbringing, from their religious practices, which is fine. And I have no qualms, I have no issues with that. But that didn't work for me. I did not see God as this religious figure. I didn't even choose to call my God, God. I chose to call my God my higher power, because that's what I thought of God. A higher power, a power that was greater than myself, a power that was greater than you, me, and every human being on this earth. That was my God. That was the God of my understanding. And when I started to look back on when I got clean, there were these times before I got clean that my higher power showed up, but I wasn't listening. I thought that I knew best and I had full, complete control over my life. But that wasn't the case. But it wasn't until December 11th, 2007 that I actually listened. That my higher power was speaking so loud, that my higher power was yelling at me, telling me that there was a better way to live. And I thank God for that moment. I thank God for that day. I thank God, to my understanding, my higher power, that happened in that exact moment and that I chose to listen. Something told me to listen. And that was all due to my higher power. That was all a result of me actually listening to the signs that my higher power was telling me, was giving me. And that word God gets thrown around so much nowadays. It gets used in a positive light, but it also gets used in a negative light to instill fear, to control. And I personally do not think that that's how God would want his name, his image, his energy to be used. Regardless if you think God was a person, if God was real, if God is just an idea, an energy, a vibration, it should not be used to control. It should not be used to instill fear. Because at the end of the day, God is love. God, to whatever you believe God is, to your understanding, to my understanding, wants everybody to be happy. God wants everybody to be joyous and to be free. We weren't put on this earth to be miserable. We weren't put on this earth to instill fear and to try to control people and to try to hurt people. But we all have to understand that this word, God, doesn't always mean what someone else thinks it might mean. It's really personal. You really have to do some soul searching, some deep self-reflection, and see how God plays a role in your life. And remember, a God of your understanding. It doesn't have to be that image that someone might have, that picture of God as a person in the sky or whatever and what have you. Throw that out the door. Focus on what that word, God, means to you. How God manifests itself in your life. How you can use that strength, that feeling, that understanding that there's a power greater than yourself. There's an energy. There's something that's bigger than all of us that connects all of us, that allows us to do great things, that gives us confidence and gives us courage and puts us on these paths to be our best version of ourselves, to be somebody that we can be proud of. But we have to truly, truly figure out what God is to us. And as long as that's personal to you and it works for you, That's amazing. But we can't use that idea, that concept that we have of God and try to push it on somebody else. Or at least we can't say that what we believe is better than what you believe. Because it's a personal journey. It's a personal feeling to have that connection, to have that openness, to be vulnerable to that idea of God, the idea of a higher power. What it really boils down to at the end of the day is that belief. That belief that there's a higher power, there's a power greater than ourselves in this world, that's in this universe, that has a hand and plays a role in all the beauty around us. But more importantly, plays an important role inside of us. Because whether you want to call it your higher power or an energy or God, all of that is within us. We all have that inside of us. And until we really, really understand and grasp that concept, there's going to be this disconnection. And what we want is that connection. We want that connection with our higher power. We want that connection with this energy. We want that connection with God. Whatever you want to call it, it has to be God of your understanding. However you understand that concept of God is personal to you. But what is a must is that connection. What is a must is that belief and that faith for that higher power, that God, that energy, that vibration. Because once we start to make that connection, we can use that as one of our greatest sources of strength. And we might look up and pray to whoever we want to pray to, but realize that it's inside of us. It's all inside of us. We all have that strength inside of us. And we can use it. We can use that strength in our darkest moments. We can also use it to pay homage to thank, to show our gratitude to when we have some of our greatest moments. It's both ends of the spectrum. That connection will always be there, regardless of bad moments or good moments. We have to understand that our higher power plays a role in all of it. But we need to maintain that connection. We need to find that connection. And once we find it, we need to strengthen it. We need to build it up. We need to create such a strong bond that it's indestructible. That we know that we can use that bond. We can use that connection in times of need and in times of joy and elation and celebration. But it's that connection that's so important. What we choose to call it is not so important at the end of the day. Society might think otherwise and might choose to use the word God, a certain image, to instill fear, to control. And that's not the main purpose. That's not how we should view God, our higher power, a higher energy, a universal vibration. It's personal to everybody. And once we understand that, then we can break those societal bonds, those conditions, those habits that a lot of us have been, what's the word for it? Exposed to. We've been exposed to those our whole lives. So it's going to take some time to break those old bonds and create new ones. For me, it took a deep, dark moment, a rock bottom, for me to finally hear, finally listen to what my higher power was telling me for so long. My higher power was telling me to get help. This isn't how you want to live your life. There is a better life out there for you, but you have to listen to me. You have to acknowledge my presence. And once I did, once I was exposed to that higher power, once I had a taste of it and realized this is real, this connection is real, that's when I started to build and build and build that connection. That's when I knew that this thing was for real. It wasn't about the word God. It wasn't about an image. It was that true, unconditional connection between me and my higher power, which is my God of my understanding. I choose to call my God my higher power. And that helps me. That allows me to grow. That allows me to evolve. That allows me to become a better version of myself, because I understand that connection now. I know the role that my higher power plays in my life and what I need to do to keep that connection as strong as possible. And that's what everybody else needs to strive for, in my opinion. Some might like it, some might not. But in personal experiences, that connection with something greater than myself has been one of my greatest sources of strength in my life. It has helped me stay clean. It has helped me make decisions. And it has helped me weave through this thing called life without following my heart, understanding that the situation might be scary, I might be afraid, but everything's going to work out because of that bond with my higher power, because of that connection with a power greater than myself. And I know that word God can be a touchy subject. People might look at it as taboo and dance around it, walk on eggshells if it comes up in a conversation. But let me make this very clear. I have no issues with the word God. I have no issues with God. I just know for me that the God of my understanding, to me, is my higher power. I choose to call my God my higher power. That doesn't mean that somebody else might call their God a religious God, whether it's in Catholicism or Judaism or Hinduism or any other religion. That word God might mean something personal to them. But that's the crux of this talk. That's what I'm really trying to convey here, is that it needs to be personal. We need to stop allowing others to tell us what God is, who God is, what God does. We all need to focus on that personal connection with the God of our understanding. Create that connection, foster that connection, and continuously build upon that connection. Because at the end of the day, that connection could save your life. That connection can give you the courage and the strength to move forward, to make that decision, to do something that you thought you might never do. And it can also pull you out of the deepest, darkest moments of your life, filled with sadness, anger, grief, and frustration. When you have that connection with the higher power or God, you almost feel like you're gonna make it. You always know that you're going to make it out okay. You might have to go through a storm, but you always see the light at the end of that tunnel. You know that you will make it through unscathed and a stronger, better person for it. But it's all about that personal connection. It's all about that personal relationship that you have with the God of your understanding. Don't allow other people, other institutions to tell you what your God is and who your God is and how to pray to your God. That needs to be personal. That needs to be between you and the God of your understanding. And if you're struggling with this idea of God or a higher power, because I know from personal experience that I struggled with it for quite some time, what I want you to do is look back on your life a little bit. Try to remember some moments, or even present day, and see if you have ever or you currently have a belief that there's something bigger than all of us, that there's a power greater than all of us in this world. And if you do, even if it's a small amount, a sliver of belief, then that's where you start. Because having that belief that there's something bigger than all of us is having a belief that there is a higher power, that there is a God of your understanding. Now, you might not understand what that means, but having that belief is the beginning of that connection. And once you start to have that connection, then you can build upon that connection. And you will see that there is a higher power, that there is a God of your understanding. But it all starts with that belief. We all need to believe, in my opinion, that there's something greater than all of us in this universe. There's a power greater than all of us. If you choose to call it God, cool. If you choose not to call it God, cool. But we have to have that belief. And once we have that belief, then we can make that connection and build on that connection and strengthen that connection and have the ultimate relationship with that higher power, with that God of your understanding. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing and an amazing experience. Have an amazing day, everybody. Have a blessed day. Always be grateful. Always remember to be grateful for this moment. For this moment is all we truly have. So be grateful for it. And smile. Always remember to smile. And believe. Believe in something. Believe in something that is greater than all of us. Have an amazing day, everybody. Have a blessed day. Always be grateful. Always remember to be grateful for this moment. For this moment is all we truly have. So remember, be grateful for it. And smile. Always remember to smile. I'll talk to everybody soon.